What if I told you the US has been losing money to the rest of the world every single year since the 1970s, and nobody stopped it? Not Democrats, not Republicans, not even the billionaires yelling on CNBC. So, is it a crisis or is it genius? So, President Donald Trump called the U.S. trade deficit a policy of economic surrender. That's dramatic. But what is the trade deficit? And is it really the economic version of getting panted in front of the entire G20? Let's unpack what a trade deficit actually is, why it exists, why it freaks out politicians, and why economists just shrug and go, it depends. All right, imagine you're a country. You love shopping. You import more stuff, like TVs, phones, clothes, and oddly rubber ducks, than you sell to other countries. That difference? That's the trade deficit. In America's case, we've had one every single year since the 1970s. And guess what? The economy didn't explode. In fact, it grew. A lot. So why do politicians act like the trade deficit is some kind of national tumor? Let's zoom in. There are two types of trade: goods and services. Goods equals physical stuff. Services equals people stuff. Think tourism, consulting, licensing your billion-dollar app idea. Here's the kicker. We actually have a surplus in services. We export more services than we import. But when people like Trump scream about the deficit, they're almost always talking about goods, where the US has run a long-term deficit. Now, you might be wondering, wait, if we're spending more than we earn in trade, shouldn't we be broken by now? Good question, imaginary viewer. Here's how the math works. When the US imports more than it exports, we send out dollars. But those dollars don't just vanish into the economic void. Foreign countries usually take those dollars and invest them right back into the US, into stocks, bonds, even real estate. So, yes, we run a trade deficit, but also, we're the world's favorite place to park money. Here's another layer of fun. The national deficit, when Congress spends more than it taxes, also ties into this. We sell U.S. Treasury bonds to raise money. And guess who buys those bonds? Foreigners. With those U.S. dollars, we just paid them in trade. So yeah, the trade deficit and national debt, they're like drunk roommates who keep enabling each other. Trump thought tariffs, basically taxes on imported goods, would fix the trade deficit. Spoiler, it didn't. Here's why. Tariffs make foreign goods more expensive, which means you, dear consumer, pay more, which means you buy less, which means businesses make less, which means everyone feels like garbage. And while the deficit might shrink, it's for the wrong reason. Economic slowdown. AKA, a recession. Let's ask an economist. Is the trade deficit good or bad? Of course, classic economist. If we're importing more because we're rich and buying stuff, that's not necessarily bad. If we're importing more because our economy is collapsing and we've stopped producing, yeah, that's a different vibe. The real question is, what are we doing with the money flowing out? If it's being reinvested into productive stuff, companies, infrastructure, innovation, then cool. If it's going to build overpriced condos in Miami no one lives in, that's less cool. The US is a weird economic beast. It can run massive trade deficits, rack up debt, and still be the place everyone wants to invest in. Why? Because we've got trust, stability, innovation, and Taylor Swift tickets. The point is, the trade deficit isn't some evil number. It's a reflection of how we're positioned in the global economy. And until those changes, other countries will keep sending us their stuff, and we'll keep sending them dollars they send right back. It's like economic boomerang with shipping fees. So no, the trade deficit isn't a sign that America is losing. It's a sign that people trust our money and our mark